Julia did not sleep. She laid in the alien bed, in the alien room, with her mind finally lucid. She'd been kidnapped. An odd imprisonment, to say the least, but it was clear now. And what was also clear was that not only her mental distress was a factor here, but also her physical deterioration. She was a diabetic. It hadn't seemed like as much of an issue while she was ill, but now that she was eating again, her blood sugar would be escalating. She needed insulin in order to live. She sat up in the bed. From what intel she'd gathered from Alice, there didn't seem to be guards about here. She could just walk out a door, wherever that might be, and escape from this bizarre place, where people like to play dress-up. She'd seen people running about more scantily clad than in the long nightgown she wore. Quietly she flung back the covers and put her bare feet on the cool wooden floor. She tiptoed to the door and slowly opened it, peeking out. There was a soft light in the hallway, but no one was around. Julia took a deep breath and headed out. She quietly but quickly traveled down a long hallway until she reached the top of a curving staircase. Softly her bare feet hit the thin wooden steps on the half-spiral stairway, but gratefully she made no noise. It stopped on the threshold of several connected rooms, lined with chairs and small tables. She glanced around furtively, spotting a short hallway on the far end of the second one. Her heart began to race. Silently she scampered across the room as she reached a heavy, white wooden door with several large bolts connected to it. Her hands quickly hit the cold metal as she turned the bolt of the first, and then the second. With exultation she began to pull the heavy door open, when startlingly a hand caught it just above her and slammed it shut. He bent over her head and in a heavy whisper said, "I wouldn't advise that." With fury she spun around, confronted by the face of what she inferred was Mr. Burke, dangerously close to hers. "You can't keep me prisoner here," she rasped. "You must be feeling better," he commented, a little too calmly. "You don't understand," she said. "If you keep me here, I'll die. I need—" He nodded. "I know. Insulin. I have it. I was just waiting for you." She cringed against the door, aghast at the thoroughness of which he'd prepared, well, whatever he'd prepared. "What the hell is this? What can you possibly want from me?" He let his hand drop and he backed away a bit. "I would have thought you'd figured that out by now, Julia. I want the Deborah crystal." Her eyes widened in shock. She hadn't even considered that was what this was about. In fact, she hadn't had time to consider much of anything, except that she had to get out. "What did you say?" she whispered. "The elemental. It's clear you're the key." "Who are you?" she asked in a voice that was fading in the tumult of emotion inside her. She could see the concern cross his face. This kidnapper, this inexplicable, costumed, insane person was worried about her. He moved a bit closer, holding out his hand to her. "Come with me. Come sit down, and I'll do my best to explain things to you." She shook her head, again reaching for the lock on the door. "No, you can't keep me here. I'm leaving." And in a split second the hand he'd held out to her moments before was now on top of hers, clasping it, stilling it from motion. His face was so close to hers that he whispered into her completely disheveled hair, "You don't understand, Julia. Where you are, what will happen if you walk out that door. Chances are you'll be arrested for indecent exposure, thrown into some asylum, or accosted by some traveling brigand." Again she spun around to face him directly. "What are you talking about?" she rasped. "They don't do that to people these days." He pulled his face back away from her so that she was looking right into his dark brown eyes. "No, they don't where you came from." "What does that mean?" He pulled back completely, removing his hands from any contact with her, and stared at her with an unflinching determination that she found more than a bit unsettling. "There's no easy way to tell you this. My name is Nicholas Burke, and I have brought you here, to the year 1910. She stood there, riveted to the spot, staring at him in that silent moment, trying to digest his proclamation, and then she replied in the only way that she could, "You must be insane." This has been Treading on Borrowed Time, written by Evelyn Klebert, narrated by Evelyn Klebert. Copyright 2011, Evelyn Klebert. Production copyright 2015 by Cornerstone Book Publishers.